What if the very thing you were told would limit you became the source of your greatest strength? In a world that often sees disability as a deficit, millions navigate invisible challenges that others can't see or understand. Hidden disabilities like dyscalculia and learning differences affect 1 in 5 people, yet they remain shrouded in misconception and stigma. The real disability isn't in how someone's brain works differently, it's in a society that fails to recognize diverse forms of intelligence and capability. Today, we're redefining what it means to learn, succeed, and thrive against all odds. Meet Michelle Steiner, a woman who transformed every you can't into watch me. Diagnosed with dyscalculia and visual perception challenges in kindergarten, Michelle was told she'd never handle college because of her math disability. Instead, she earned her bachelor's degree from Slippery Rock University, became a published author with work featured in The Mighty and multiple anthologies, and now works as a paraeducator, empowering students with disabilities. Through her blog, Michelle's Mission, and speaking engagements, she's become a powerful advocate for hidden disabilities, using nature photography and storytelling to illuminate the beauty in thinking differently. Her mission is simple yet profound: to encourage, empower, and educate people with and without disabilities that success doesn't always come in the package we expect. Sometimes it comes in something even better.
All right. Hey, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Impactors Out Loud with me, your host, Tracy V. Allen. And today we have with us Michelle Steiner, and she is going to tell us a little bit about how she is an impactor and the impact she makes within her community and the ripple effect that it has throughout the community. So, Michelle, welcome to Impactors Out Loud. We always start off with what's your cocktail? So tell us, what is your cocktail?
I think one of the things that I do is just to try to help other people in life, whether that is through my blog or whether it's helping a student that might have that has a disability. The one of the my mission statement is to be able to encourage, empower, and educate people with and without disabilities.
Okay. So, how did you get into this line of work? What is your backstory? So, how did this become who Michelle is today?
Well, I know writing and reading have always been a really important part of my life and also helping people. Ever since I was young, that's something I knew that I loved to do.
Mhm.
And another real big influencer that I had in my life was that I was diagnosed with a learning disability whenever I was in kindergarten. I can
Okay.
remember being in the classroom and I was just really struggling. And my teacher noticed that I was having trouble with counting, writing my name, tying my shoes, and she recommended to my parents that I get tested for having a learning disability. And sure enough, I have one. And I had to repeat the grade in a new school in our district, and I had to have specialty instruction and accommodations. And school was a real struggle for me socially and academically. I did not fit in with a lot of my peers. I really stood out as being someone that was an outsider from a very young age. So the bullying really started early in life.
Mhm.
But the one thing they noticed I was really good at, my parents did, was I was really good with reading and I was good with writing. And my dad found a story in second or third grade about a dinosaur. He said, "Wow, this is really good." And that changed my world because up until that point, I didn't think I was good at anything. I thought I'm always going to be really bad at anything, and learning is just not possible. And I just got into I reading and writing became my world, and it was really important, especially as I went through school and I was being bullied more, uh,
Mhm.
and that really became my focus. And so academically, it got a lot easier for me. I started to really find that I was good at other classes as long as you didn't put math in front of me or gym class. And I was in all regular ed classes except for math and a resource room by the time I was in high school. And I also struggled even more socially. I was really having a hard time connecting with my peers, and I decided I'm not really having a connection here. So I reached out and I found an arts group just right outside of our school district. And I found other kids that were just like, were like me, and I could start over and have that fresh start. And I found acceptance. And then when I transitioned out of that group, I found an adult writing group, and they got to see me grow as a writer and a person. And 30 some years later, we still meet once a month to talk about our writing, and we're in each other's
Really?
lives.
Okay.
And yeah, and just like throughout my whole story, though, one of
Mhm.
the things too was, well, some of our issues that came up was, well, what are you going to do once you're done with school? I knew I wanted to go to college, but I wasn't naive to the fact it was going to be a real challenge for me. And I
Mhm.
wasn't alone in those fears. I had a learning support teacher who told me, well, I don't think you can handle college because of your math.
Mhm.
And she suggested a trade school, but nothing there interested me. And I think some of those trades would have been a lot harder than college for me.
Mhm.
And I also had a psychiatrist who told me I would most likely not go beyond community college.
Oh my
I get,
goodness.
yeah.
Oh.
uh, I get to community college, and I have even more stigma. I have a professor who told me I was going to have limited job choices because of my math.
Mhm.
Both staff and peers really didn't view accommodations as something that was good. They really were like, oh, that's cheating. I remember asking for a calculator, and somebody told me that we use our brains in this class, not
Wow.
not calculators. Yeah. But I was able to graduate when I got an associate's degree in early childhood education and moved out on my own. I really liked that. Um, I'm not able to drive because of my disability, loved having my
Mhm.
independence, but be careful what you wish for because it just might come true. And
Mhm.
I had to move back in with my parents for financial reasons. And my job was downsizing. And I thought, this is the time to go back to school. And I researched and I found a program that had the least amount of math and science possible. And as I got through that, then it was just one of those things where I really used the accommodations. I used the extended test time. I used having a note taker. I did all those things and it
Mhm.
worked for me. And I advocated for myself and I was able to, my grades improved. I made Dean's List for a semester and I was able to graduate with a bachelor's degree. And after that, I really wanted to have that purpose. I had a lot of confidence. I wasn't negative as I was before, and I wanted to help other people. So that's where a lot of that came in. It took me a long time to find the right job that I'm at. As a paraeducator in the school, I worked some other jobs that said they were disability friendly,
Mhm.
but they were anything but that. And then my lifelong dream of becoming a published writer came true as well, and getting married. I can
Oh.
remember when, yeah, I knew
Okay.
that those were two dreams that I wanted. And when I bought my first home, we bought our first home. I could not unlock the front door. Because I have limited hand dexterity in both of my hands.
Mhm.
And I thought I was so frustrated. And there was a call in the mighty of what's a seemingly easy task for others, but it's really hard with
Mhm.
your disability. And I
Mhm.
decided I'm going to write about it. And that when it got published, I had a really good following, and I thought, okay, that encouraged me to write other articles.
Mhm.
And I also developed a love for photography, and that came from taking a lot of walks and having that chance to stop and smell the roses and
Mhm.
bringing out the details of flowers and things that other people would miss on their walks. And I get a chance to be able to put that all on my blog.
Okay. Okay, so that was a very empowering story of
Thank you.
perseverance, resilience, and overcoming some challenges in life and not
Mm-hmm.
giving up because that's what people tend to do a lot, right?
Right.
When things get too hard, they give up, but you've been able to advocate for yourself and just overcome those obstacles in your path. Um, you said that when you were in kindergarten, you were diagnosed with a learning disability. Do you mind
Yes.
telling us what that is?
Sure. I have dyscalculia, which is a math learning disability.
Mhm.
I also have visual perception issues, but that's in my brain, not in my eyes. And I have the
Mhm.
limited hand dexterity. But the limited hand dexterity didn't come until I was an adult.
Okay. Is there a root cause for the hand dexterity issues?
We think that it's just all in the brain.
Okay.
Everything with having the disability just goes back to that one cause.
One cause. Okay.
Mhm.
Um, well, I mean, your disability with math is an actual disability. I was an educator. So, and I
Mhm.
taught inclusive classes, and I know that some people just struggle with math, but it doesn't mean that you have a complete learning disability, because usually your strong point is in the reading subjects. The reading and writing subjects
Yes.
usually excel beyond beyond belief in those subjects. You just don't do a job that needs math. That's it. You know?
Exactly. Yeah. I mean that's yeah. I can read, I can write, just don't put math in front of me.
Right. And there's so many jobs that can be done without having to do any type of extensive math. You may encounter some
Right.
numbers, but you don't have to do extensive math. So I don't see
No.
why that was a problem. Just because math is an issue, why they would be so negative about your prospects in the work field or in college.
Right. Right. In fact, some of that stuff that they gave, like the one example she gave me did happen, but I knew how to handle it. She told me,
Hmm.
well, if you're going to do an art project with kids, you may not know how much paper that you're going to need for things.
Hmm.
And sometimes, okay, maybe I didn't give the right amount of paper. Okay, no big deal. We just
Yeah,
go and
that's
we
not a
get the
big
right amount of
deal.
paper. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
really not. It's
Hmm.
just something I have to keep in mind. And
Right.
all the kids know that I cannot help them with math. We
Mhm.
just started school today, so they're going to soon find out. Can't help you with math, but I can help you with English, and
Mhm.
I can help you with history and other things.
Right. And kids are usually very forgiving anyway. And one of the
Hmm.
things I have come to realize that people who have a disability usually find a workaround for that disability. So they're living with it every day. So they come up with their own accommodations to make sure they're getting past the hurdles that come with said disability. So you said that you published a book. How did it do? And have you published more since then?
I've had two anthologies where stories were published in there. I
Okay.
don't have my own book,
Oh, you
but
don't have
I
your own.
had
Okay.
some. No, but I've had a couple stories published in two anthologies, and they're
Hmm.
coming out this fall.
Okay.
And I think it's one of the first one was called Rediscovering Your Story, and it was about it was a workshop where people came and we talked about we wrote about different things. Sometimes they were fun prompts like about our hair or our favorite place, and about things like what was the most important lesson that you ever had to learn in life,
Hmm.
and that is for purchase on Amazon. And then the other one was an anthology called The Baggage We Carry,
Hmm.
and I wrote about just the baggage that having a disability can sometimes accompany as well.
Hmm. Okay. Do you plan on publishing your own book? And if what
Eventually,
genre are you interested in most?
I am interested in the memoirs and creative nonfiction. That is where I do a lot of
Okay.
my writing from.
Memoirs and creative nonfiction. So are you planning to write your own memoir or yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
Okay. All right. So you said that you're a paraprofessional currently?
Yes, I
Okay.
am.
All right. And you have a blog. So tell us a little bit about the blog and how you're using the blog to inspire and help other people to deal with their disability.
Sure. I have my blog is called Michelle's Mission,
Mhm.
and I write about my life with a learning disability. I do a lot of metaphors and analogies with nature. That's a real big part of what I do.
Right.
Sometimes I
Because you
might
said you
talk
like
about,
to go outside and walk.
yeah,
So, yeah.
right,
Uh-huh.
right. So I might talk about the process of accepting my disability has been like a flower that's blooming. Or I might talk about the transformation. Butterflies are another big thing of mine. I love that. And I
Okay.
can talk about how I transformed myself with having a disability. And I can
Mhm.
also feature my photography. I love to put up there pictures of flowers and other really neat things and
Mhm.
other places. My husband and I also love to travel, and sometimes I'll even do articles with that as well. And what I want is for people with disabilities to be able to understand that they're not alone. Other people have that, and I try to make that where they're able to understand it, and I try to make it where somebody can also understand it too, that maybe doesn't know about learning disabilities. There's
Mhm.
a lot of myths and misconceptions about them, so I really try to make it where it's something where I can educate people as well.
Do you have a group, a forum that people are able
Um,
to have conversation with you or other people who are interested in learning more or just interacting with the content?
I do have like with our comments on our blog for that
Hmm.
as well. If somebody does have a question or,
Hmm.
wants to say something with that. And I'm also on social media too. So sometimes I will get people that will contact me about just different things with them, struggling with a disability or just
Hmm.
maybe just some advice with that as well.
Okay. Do you do any speaking engagements?
I do. I've spoken at a women's empowerment breakfast a few years ago. I
Hmm.
also spoke at a disability symposium. I speak on a lot of podcasts, and I got to speak at a transition conference last year,
Okay.
and I'll be speaking at another conference in the fall as well.
Okay. What do you want people to know when they come in contact with other disabilities? Let's start with teachers. What do you want them to do and not do? Like, what is because just based on your experience, that's why I'm asking this question.
Mhm.
Like, obviously, there was some sensitivity training that needed to happen there, but tell us, what do you want?
One of the first things that I would love is if teachers could just really do a customized approach to how students learn. Sometimes I think it's just cookie cutter approach where we get these students and we think everyone's going to learn the same way. Everybody's going to think the same way. And not everybody does. We have different people that learn in different ways. Even if you have say students that have the same kind of learning disability, all of them are going to experience it a lot differently. So it has to be that customized approach. It can't just be this cookie cutter or rubber stamp approach. It just has to be something that's really tailored to the student's needs. I also think it should also be based on a lot more strengths rather than weaknesses, because I think if we can really get where our students are interested at and we can use that to motivate them,
Mm,
then they're going to love learning. They're going to have a better opportunity to be able to learn and to do that. And sometimes if you can find out what they like to do, you can maybe use things within your lessons, even with some of their areas maybe they don't like. If the kid likes monster trucks, well, you can use it. Okay, we're going to count how many monster trucks are here, or
mhm,
use them in word problems. Or even like with reading, maybe they can read books on monster trucks. I mean, just getting that interest, I think, is just so important for a lot of our kids to be able to show that we can turn just anything into a lesson. And
mhm.
I also think maybe that sensitivity and that student that has a disability is really trying and they're struggling. And I think it's learning to identify where someone is struggling at and that they are doing their best.
Right. And it seems like you had advocates within your parents. Like, your parents were your first advocates and champions for making sure that you had all that you needed to have a productive life as much as possible. So, when it comes to dealing with students with disability, young kids especially, what would you tell parents that have kids that are being diagnosed, or I know a lot of parents who are afraid to have their children diagnosed. So, what kind of advice would you give to them, especially now that you're working as a paraprofessional with young kids and you probably see some symptoms and deal with kids on a daily basis who probably do have some type of learning disability that is not being addressed? I mean, and to the
Right.
teacher's credit, because I used to be an educator, you have 30 kids in a class. It's kind of hard to give individualized attention to each child. And the paperwork is burdensome, even though I have gone to bat for kids on many occasions. But yeah, I've seen kids go through elementary
Mhm.
into junior high school and come to meet me. And I have to say, hey, this child needs to be tested. And the parents are upset because how did they get all the way through elementary school and no one ever said anything? And then here it is, they're in middle school.
Mhm.
You're telling me my child has a problem. And I don't think there's any child who has been upset with me for having them, or parents initially have some apprehension, but once a child starts getting the help they need and they see that change, they're like,
Mhm.
oh, that's what that was. Yeah.
Exactly. There
Mhm.
really is no shame in getting a child labeled with having a disability. I know sometimes parents don't want to do that,
Mhm.
but my mom and dad explained to me in simple, age appropriate terms that I had a learning disability and I learned differently. And that was better information that I was getting from my peers who were telling me that I wasn't very smart. And obviously,
Mhm.
a lot of the staff that I worked with in the schools wasn't always the most sensitive towards that. But having that information eventually started to sink in that, okay, I have a brain that works differently. It's
Mhm.
not a bad thing. Disability is not a dirty word. It's just one of those things that people have, and everybody has things that they're good at. Everybody has things that they struggle with. I might just have a little more in one area, and I and I think a lot of times the earlier you can get somebody diagnosed, the better, because it just becomes a way of life for me. I
Mhm.
know I remember very little of my life before I had my diagnosis. And that was a process of accepting it, but it's just learning to ask for help, learning to ask for accommodations. I had to go up to somebody new that I'd be working with, and I just simply told her that I won't be able to help out with the math. And she was fine with that.
Mhm.
And it just has to be that natural thing that you're just going to go up and know how to speak up for yourself. And what I found with a lot of the students that I work with is one day they're going to leave me,
Mhm.
but for so many of them, their disability is going to stay. And it's so important that we show our students how to advocate for themselves, how to be able to be and set them up for success in life.
Yeah, I agree with that. The stigma is a thing I think that
Mhm.
really prevents a lot of parents from getting their children tested. Yeah.
Right.
So the child
Agreed.
is going through school struggling through
Mm-hmm.
something that they don't really have to struggle through, and not
Yeah.
realizing that not getting the child the help actually does the child more harm, because now
Right.
they really begin to think that something is wrong, like really
Yep.
wrong with them, instead of, I like your parents told you, your brain just works a little different. It's easier for a
Yep.
child to absorb, or yeah, to absorb that something, my brain just works a little different, versus I'm just not like the other kids and they keep picking
Yep.
on me and I don't know why. Answers make
Exactly.
things easier to deal with, right? If you
Agree.
know, then you can work through it. If you don't know, you're just, yeah, you don't know. And
Yeah.
it can cause depression. It can cause a whole lot of behavioral issues within the classroom and at home as well. So, yeah, I agree with that. So this is a great conversation. So I have a few questions before we go.
Okay.
So
Sure.
tell me, what makes you an impactor?
I think one of the things that made myself as an impactor was I can remember just wondering what my purpose was in life, and my dad telling me that there's a lot of people that need your light, and it's a really dark world out there. And when I earned my bachelor's degree, my disability didn't disappear,
Mhm.
but a lot of that negativity did. And I just thought, I want to go in and I want other people, I want to boost somebody else's experience. I want to make somebody else feel empowered. I want to help other people that had disabilities.
Okay. What are three tips or strategies that you'd like to leave the audience with around disability, either dealing with someone who has a disability or advocating for themselves to find out if they themselves have a disability or their child?
One of the first things I would tell if somebody was advocating for their child is to really ask those questions with the support team. Ask about the with testing with the pediatrician. Work with your child's school about testing and seeing what the teacher's noticing in the classroom. I had the privilege of running into one of my old teachers years ago, my first learning support teachers, and I had the chance to thank her. And she said, "Well, of course." That I put the work in, but she said, your mom and dad worked with us. If your mom had a concern, she would call the school. And if
Mhm.
I had a concern, I'd call her, and we worked together on your behalf. And I just think that it's that working together for families and just working with all the members of their team. And even if a child's not in school, there's early intervention services the kids can go to as well, and families can receive support for that. So I think that that's very important to work within a team with that.
Mhm.
I also think it's very important that we really focus on what the strengths are in a person, whether that's a parent noticing their child's a good reader, or if they're really good at sports, or they're really good at art. What are they good at?
Mhm.
And I think for the person that has a disability, it's really important to know what you want and to be able to find a way to do that. I knew that I wanted to work with kids and I wanted to work in a school, but I knew being a teacher wasn't going to be that wise choice. But I was still able to carefully research and find some programs that I could do
Mhm.
and was successful with. And I would also like to say that success doesn't always come in the package that we expect. Sometimes it comes in something even better.
Very true. All right. So tell the audience where they can find you and what you offer if you have a service that you have to offer.
Sure, you can find me at my blog, www.michellesmission.com, and I'm on Facebook and Instagram as well.
Okay, awesome. Michelle, thank you for joining us today for Impactors Out Loud. This was a great conversation, and I know that the audience will find benefit from it. And I hope that if there's someone who needs more information, they'll actually reach out to you. All right. So thank you, everyone, for joining us again. And until next time.